to the Rally Education webinar series. I'm Margaret Rickey, Vice President of Educational Consulting. Parcc Rehearsal Online is an interactive online instructional assessment for ELA and math. It helps your students prepare for the complex questions and math problems found on the Parcc. There's a free demo that will replicate what I'm going to show you today, rallyeducationonline.com/preview Parcc. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 888-99-RALLY, and our website is rallyeducation.com. So what is Parcc Rehearsal Online? It's an online program that's accessed through a password-protected website. It's for teachers and students. It's available for grades 3 to 8 for ELA and for math. Its interactive features for the ELA include examples of drag and drop, multiple responses, and parts A and B. The interactive features for Parcc Math include two-part math problems, multi-step math problems, and math equation processing. It's instant, online, color-coded reports. They identify student strengths and weaknesses, and they're populated immediately after the student finishes the assessment. Rally Education, we will set up your entire school, administrators, teachers, and students within each class. The first one I'm going to show you is the Parcc reading. Now this is going to be for level F for 6th grade. And again, this is a demo. So at the beginning of the webinar, I actually gave you a URL, and it will also be there at the end. And you can actually sign into this demo. Now the fact that this is a demo, notice down here I'm doing a drop down, and this only has 11 questions. Most of the Parcc assessments are anywhere between 45 and 60 questions, depending on the grade level and the complexity of what they need to be tested on. So this is our Parcc Rehearsal Online. Notice that it's a split screen, so we have the passage here off to the left, and then we have also a scrolling screen on the right-hand side for the questions. In addition, there is some additional navigation here, so you can hit it also using Next, or you can use the drop-down if you want to go back. We also have buttons up here, Save and Pause. That's just a nice little safety net for you and your students. If something happens and there's a disruption in the internet, these are hosted on our Rally servers, so you really shouldn't have any worry about any kind of other external internet situations going on. But say there's a power surge or there's a fire drill or anything like that, then you can actually, the student can save and pause whatever they're doing at this point. But I have a little bit of a secret. We actually are saving it as well. So every movement, everything that the student is doing, we don't want them to lose the work that they've done. So we actually are saving it also as well. But again, this is just a nice little fail-safe for you. The Finish button is obviously when they finish the assessment, they can go in and hit Finish. There is also navigation at the bottom of the screen once they end up with all the questions that they need to answer. There's also a zoom in and zoom out feature. There are some students that might be visually impaired or just need a little bit of help. So as you can see, I'm clicking on this feature, and notice now everything is independently scrollable, as you can see here. And then if I need to make it a little bit smaller, I'm working from my laptop. So for me, having this a little bit smaller will also help you see how this works as well. In addition, there's a help button. It's got the little tool features here, which is what I've just gone through and shown you. And then we can go in and close it. In addition, this is also guiding the student along the way. If they actually have, in this case, this is a multi-part question. They have to answer part A and part B. So they want to make sure that they actually scroll down and notice that this is happening. In addition, here on the left-hand side, there is also connections to these themes. So here's one story right here. She knew their names, Irina Sendler. And then here is another story, Life in Warsaw Ghetto. So again, this is very complex. You're connecting two themes with the different questions that are happening on there. So again, let's show you, that's just the navigation of it. So if I want to go in here and I just want to answer a question or two, I can click it, and the student can go back in and change their answers. They can save and pauses and change their answers. But once they hit finish, the assessment is going to gather all their scores and send them off to the teacher so that they can take a look at them. So again, if I want to go in here, it says which information from best supports the answer to part A. Then I can click on that one and then hit next. So again, if any of you, as we're going through this webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me in the chat and we can move forward with that. So in this case, this question is now following the key events that led to Irina's smuggling Jewish children to safety, drag the events and put them in order. Again, very complex. You would have had to read the passage thoroughly. And then what I can do here is I'm going to say, well, I want to go in here and I want to move this around. So I can move this around in any order that I want to. And again, until I'm ready to actually finish the test, I can come back in here and move this around again and reread it. Again, because the purpose of this is not to teach the test, but to give the students the ability to understand the types of complex questions that they will encounter. So again, now this says, select the statement that shows paragraph 2, how it most contributes to the development of the ideas. So we have a little feature here that we can go in, and I can highlight it a little bit if that's going to help me answer this question. And again, I just click on the radio button and I decide I'm going to answer that. And then it says choose one sentence from part 2 that best supports the answer. And once I click, my highlight goes away. But again, it gives you an idea of how the functionality works. So again, we're continuing on with Warsaw. Let me just move into a different passage right here. So we're now explaining to the student this product has more passages and many more questions. So we can click and download a sample report, but I'm going to show it to you in a different place. But again, we have high graphics, good non-fictional passages to help the student build content as well as their ability to address the interactive questions that they're going to run into on the Parcc. So again, here's your radio button, and again, we can go in and do what best supports. And we can continue on. Again, another part A and part B. And these are very complex questions. And one of the challenges about these types of questions is they may be able to receive part A correct, but if part B is incorrect, then the whole answer is incorrect. So those are very challenging situations for you as educators. So that's how the ELA Parcc Rehearsal Online works. But let's go back, and I want to show you now how the math works. So before I finished it, notice that it's like, hey, wait a minute, you have one or more questions that have been answered, not been answered, or have been flagged. So what this means is that I can go back in and change any of these answers until I hit finish. So if I choose to cancel or return to the test or choose OK to leave the questions unanswered or flagged. So that's going to show up on your instant report. So if the student did not answer questions, they're going to end up with a 0 on that question, or they'll end up with a dash. So again, you really want to try to encourage them to try to get through this, because again, what you're doing is you're trying to build the stamina and the skills that they need to learn how to pass and to do well on the Parcc. So again, important, once you click OK, you'll not be able to return and finish this assignment. Now, you can take this multiple times. So again, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice, practice, practice. And that's a way for the student to go back in. We just want to make sure that they go through all of it so that you get a baseline score report. So let's go into the math. So this is what the Parcc math rehearsal looks like. For those of you, I'm more a reading language arts person, so math is not necessarily my forte, although I do like algebra a little bit. But again, it's the same kind of navigation that I can go through here and click on, just like we've done here. In addition to that, we have a little calculator that'll pop up every time the student needs a calculator. It's not going to save it, your answer on this calculator, if you switch to the next problem, which I will show you. But you can go in here very quickly. And here's your answer. Obviously, this is not a correct answer, but I can take care of that as well, and it has a zoom in and zoom out features. So if I have this answer correctly, here and do this,
And then notice once I clicked on that, the calculator went away. It says, which of the following expressions are equivalent? 4x plus 12y. Select all that apply. Again, this is a very challenging question. This is sixth grade. So now I have to go in here and really understand what is being asked of me. Obviously, they can have paper by their side. I can utilize the calculator again, as I've seen right here. And then if I decide that I need multiple questions that I need to answer, then I can simply click on them. If I decide that I don't want all of those, then I just simply click on them again. And again, here is just the ability to a different type of question. How many people out of every 10 did not like cereal? Everybody I know likes cereal, so I can just click and change this number. Again, you want the student to get through the assessment, and so you get the score as a baseline first, and then they can go back and take this as many times as they want. So here's another different type of problem. These are one of my favorite word problems. Camille has 4 more than twice as many pens as Henry. Camille has 12 pens. Write, but do not solve an equation. So here we have down here different functionalities. So if I'm going to muddle through this right now and I'm going to go, okay, well, let's see, it's maybe going to be H equals, now I need to do some kind of an equation. So notice right here you have these little features. This one right here is for fractions, and this is for denominators and numerators, but this is to actually write the algebraic equation. And so now inside of it, I have to muddle through and 12, 4 more as many pens, so maybe it's 12 minus 4. And I'm actually, you can use the function keys that we have here. I can do 12 minus 4, or I actually used my own keys on my computer to do this. But again, it's whatever is going to make it easy for your student to do. And I'm going to say divided by 2. So let's hope that I at least can do this basic algebra equation. Here's another type of interactive feature. Peter wants to know how many half-cup servings are in 2/3 of a cup of pudding. So again, a very complex question. They would need to probably have a piece of scratch paper so they could actually do their algebraic equation. So I'm going to choose, let's see, what would this be? Is this 2/3 divided by a half? I don't know, maybe it's 1 1/3 servings. Again, very complex. I can go back in here and change it again. There's now 3 aspects to this question that I have to get correct in order for it to be calculated correctly on the Parcc. Which of the following questions do not have a remainder? Again, another interactive math problem. So I can now go in here and move these things around. So again, and then if I want to go back and change my mind, I just simply, what I'm doing is I'm just dragging this with my cursor and then unclicking it. Here is another type of problem with drop down. So they have to do 4 parts correctly in order for them to get the right. So again, if you're going to do coordinates, have a piece of paper on the side, let them plot it out. I'm just going to go in here and just play around and say these are all scaling triangles, and let's make this one a square. And then I'm going to hit next. Here's another one. It's a 4-part question. I have to have all of them. So select yes or no for each value. I can go in here and do these, selecting yes and no. And then if I want to go back and change all of it, and maybe I don't want to even answer it because it scares me, and I want to go actually ask my teacher that I need some additional help with that. Here's another type of interactive question for math plotting. All you simply do, I'm taking my cursor over here, and I'm just listing some plots. If I want to delete it, I would just simply go back and unplot them and then try again. So it says select a point on the number line that has the same distance, same as the plot. So all I would do here is I would play around with this. Maybe I want to select all of them if I'm one of the little kids that likes to play around. But then at the end of the day, you really do want to have them work through the assessment so you can get a really good baseline. So that gives me the ability to change the dots here and move on. And now we're at the end of the last question on the demo. Arrange the temperatures from warmest to coolest. And again, you've seen this feature right here. So let's go back home And now what I want to do is show you the reports. I think one of the things that's most important of all, it's not just taking assessments. A lot of people, there's mandates. You cannot teach the test. But the most important thing of all is not actually taking that, but is actually what you do with the data after you receive the information. It's not just about what is right and wrong. What you want to do is explain to students why something is correct and why something is incorrect. That's really the focus of the instructional assessment. What is it that they need to know to be able to do well on their assessment? What students do I need to gather together to do some intensive remediation if they need this? So let me walk you through this report right here. Our head of product development has a really funny sense of humor. So if you notice the students down here on the left-hand side, these are all my students in my class. I have Natalie Attired and Save Your Breath and Lisa Carr and Russell Cattle. Just a little something fun for you to look at on this. When you receive the demo, you can actually look at these reports as well. But this shows all my students, but notice that they're in different colors. This is the color-coded report that shows the different levels of proficiency so that you can quickly and easily see right at a glance how well your students are doing and which ones are struggling. Now, granted, these are reports that we've populated with numbers because we wanted you to be able to see it. So obviously, Natalie Attired may not have 100% in real life on a multiple choice question, but she can go in here and you can look at the averages and say she's definitely a struggling student. This is what I'm showing you right here where the 0 is or whether there is a dash. Now, in some of the standards on the Parcc, not every question type is actually assessed. So there could be dashes here. We've just set this up for all the possibilities of all the different question types. But if Natalie is really struggling and she didn't answer it, or she actually tried to answer it but just flat got it wrong, then notice that all of these students, Natalie, Howard, Xavier, and Lisa, all need some intensive remediation. This is where your job comes in, where you can grab these students very quickly and say, you know what, we need to do some additional work. You can utilize the materials that you already have in the classroom to do that intensive remediation. And Raleigh Education also has materials that we could help you supplement as well. So there's two types of reports for the reading rehearsal. Down here on the left-hand side, you will actually receive two types of reports, and notice there's tabs. This is the one on question type. So again, it's not just what's right and what's incorrect, but is it that they're struggling with different question types? Or, as I'm clicking on this class report, or is it that they're actually struggling with the standards? So notice that is now changed to the standards right here across the top. And now I have a little bit of a different picture with Natalie Attired. So notice that her average went up a little bit compared to the question type. But I can still see that she's struggling. So it appears that now she's not only struggling with different types of questions, but there's actually a couple of different standards that she needs. And I know that she's also possibly an ELL student or special needs. So I know that maybe there's some other accommodations that I need to do. But again, this allows you very, very quickly to see where your students are at that snapshot in time. And so this is one of the important things about them finishing the assessment in the beginning so you get a baseline assessment. So this is the Parcc Math Rehearsal Report. Now remember, we were looking at level F, which is the 6th grade level. And this is an actual live report. And I have Natalie and Howard and Xavier Breath and Lisa Carr and good old Russell Cattle. And notice that they're actually doing a little bit better in math. So some people are science and math people and some people are reading language arts. So at least this is a good thing to see that Natalie isn't struggling as much in math. Notice that we have the class average that's color coded. And then we also have the standards listed here across the top. We have the same levels of proficiency going on here. But then also notice as we go through here that it's actually going to show you the different types of standards that we have. So this is now ratios and proportions. This is now the number system. And it's still holding the same students in my class. This is a populated report. This would be lovely if everybody in their classroom had this kind of report. But this allows you very quickly to see how well they're doing, not only on the actual standards, but on the specific domains, clusters, and standards that they need to know against the Parcc. And then the final report right here is for question type. So again, you can now go in here and see, is it that the standards that they're struggling with, or is it that it is the types of questions? That's very important information because a lot of times the students may understand the concepts, but as we saw in the demo, these are very complex multi-step math problems.
In conclusion, Parcc Rehearsal Online, it mirrors the interactive, complex questions and math problems found on the Parcc. It's available for grades 3 to 8. It's $5.95 for reading or math per student, per subject, per grade level. And it's now also available in 2 forms. Use it as a pre-test and a post-test. If you'd like to purchase both forms, it's $8.95 per student per grade level for reading or math. Unlimited access for 1 year. Please feel free to call us at 888-99-RALLY or email us at Shelley, that's with an E, at rallyeducation.com. You can access a free demo just like the one I showed you today at rallyeducationonline.com/previewparcc.